Okay, hello homesteaders, preppersteaders. This episode I'm going to go over how to deal with the loneliness of homesteading or living off-grid or living very rural. The allure of a simple life affects many. Many people, living in the cities, they romanticize about living very rural, and there's some negatives to that, believe it or not. One of the negatives, negative, positive, depending on how you look at it. I don't know if you can tell right now, but we're in the middle of a big snowstorm. That's why I'm filming in here. We're stuck on the property probably for 3 days, and there's not a lot I can do outside. So everything, obviously, I can read a book inside, work on a video like I'm doing right now, watch some TV, whatnot, things like that. But in the reality is we're stuck here. That's kind of a negative, kind of a positive, depending on how you look at it. I'll go into my reasons why we wanted to go live in a rural lifestyle. Like many of you, went to work every day. You're spending all your time to go to work, spending money to buy a vehicle to go to work. It's just this continuous cycle that you don't really see an end. And then if you wait until you retire, there could be, or there may not be, a lot of life left. I saw too many people my age that just suddenly died, and it was one of those things that it affected me. I know many people who have retired at a normal age and continued on, but it's one of those unknowns. There was a lot of reasons that we left, but in a nutshell, my wife and I are not big drinkers. We were very outdoorsy people. Having a homestead in our previous area, we really couldn't take vacations. We were stuck on the homestead with the animals, things like that. We were close to family, but yet we didn't see each other that often. Took the gamble and moved to an area where drinking and sports are not a big thing. We could do all the stuff we wanted to do when we vacationed 15, 20 minutes from our house or on our property, and it's worked out for us. When you first move out to your new area, obviously the excitement's high, you got new exploration, new things, just sights, it's overwhelming. There's just so many good things. And then slowly, the rose-colored glasses start coming off. There's things you might not realize when you move to a rural area, such as you will never be a local. You're always going to be an outsider. And unfortunately, even where we're at, that's kind of a common theme, and we've accepted it. It kind of felt like we never fit in our old area too, so it's kind of like what's changed. But there was lots of challenges. We did some research, but so much was just completely different. It's going to take some time getting used to that. And if you're planning on moving too, I imagine it's going to be the same thing. Whether you're moving to Arkansas like we did, whether you're moving to Montana, Wyoming, Wisconsin, like we left, it's a change. If you're coming from Illinois and you're moving into Wisconsin, it's a change. I want to get into confronting the realities of isolation. One of the things when you live out here, you sometimes forget how isolated you are. Don't get me wrong, living on the mountaintop, living where my closest neighbor is far, it's great for Jen and I, but at the same time, the isolation does get to you. I was trying to explain it to a friend of mine. I go, imagine, lunar exploration, you're going to the moon. How awesome is that? How exciting is that? But at the same time, you're really far away from friends, family, and things you're used to. And that's kind of how it's been for us. It's wonderful here. We love it. But at the same time, we're far away from friends, family, that support network we don't have. And that's tough. Like I said, our closest neighbor is not very close. Everything else is an hour away. That's one thing to consider. There's the emotional impact of being lonely. It's I'll say it, lonely. My wife and I, we're here. She works remotely, so she gets to interact with people, she's used to working with, and I don't. I'm used to going into the office, being in meetings all day long, interacting with people, customers, coworkers, and it just stopped. And now I don't interact with anybody hardly. I go to town now, I'm that guy that'll chit chat with anybody just because I'm craving conversation. When you go into town, one of the first comments and you start chit chatting with somebody is, where are you from? You have an accent, you're not from here. So unfortunately, it's a thing. And luckily in our town, I would say half the people here at least are not from here. So it's not as frowned upon. It's a challenge. And there's some self-doubt with isolation. I mean, we're out here. When I used to go to work every day, you know, there was deadlines and things like that, and I would meet them or exceed them, and here it's very hard to do. There's some projects around the house here that I'm prolonging just so I have something to do, because most of the other projects require money, require somebody besides myself, and it's a weird thing. I just can't do it right now, so it gets to you. It affects you a little bit. And there's a balance between self-sufficiency, you know, living off the grid. If you want a quiet mountain life and you don't want people near your property, unfortunately, that means that you're not going to have very many people near you in general. So we are in one of the least populated counties, in one of the least populated towns, and you start feeling it. There's been a few times Jenny and I don't see anybody for over a week. She's more used to it than me, because even when we had our homestead in Wisconsin, even though we were 5-10 minutes from everything, she wouldn't leave the property most of the time just because she worked at home. We had the animals, and she was content. I'm still getting used to this, because even my wife's been working remote since before COVID. And during COVID, I was one of the unfortunate or fortunate, however you look at it, that never missed a day at work. And I was just always there, never missing work, but I was always interacting with people. And now that's just ended. YouTube is my outlet, I guess you could say. One of the things you need to do is find meaning in solitude. If you want to do this lifestyle, you want to go off grid, you want to go out, what's going to be the meaning of your life? What is the purpose of doing this? I was just on a internet forum. I still am a member of some internet forums, and a guy on there, he had a government job, him and his wife, both have government jobs, and they're worried they're going to lose with all these new cuts and everything. And he even said, should my wife and I and our kids just quit now and take off to our cabin in Alaska? They have a small 20 by 20 cabin in Alaska. And I made a comment, threw some realities down. It wasn't just me. There's a lot of people that said the same thing, because my wife and I, we're in a 1,200 square foot cabin, and it gets tight when we have guests over here. 2 to 4 kids he had. I mean, that's minimum 4 people in a 20 by 20. That would be a little tight. That would be a little rough. And especially for the kids, you might have to look at what they're going to go through, because, you know, as an adult, this is life-changing, life-altering, doing this big of a switch. In school, social interaction is a huge thing. A lot of positive aspects of living like this, though. I mean, you have the seclusion, the quiet. I mean, never have I slept so good. You know, I'm relaxed. Just wonderful to go outside and just have quiet. Our animals are right here, you know. We can just go for a walk in the woods down to the creek, you know, just, it's wonderful. I mean, those aspects of it are wonderful. And you need to figure out if those outweigh your current life. Do you enjoy going to Starbucks 5 minutes away, or will you make coffee or espresso yourself at home because there's nothing close by? You know, do you enjoy going to the store every day, or are you okay with going once a month to get a resupply at the Walmart or grocery store an hour away? Those are some of the things. But for us, we were doing that anyways. So it was an easy transition. Sometimes that's the only way to do it, is to move to an area where you could do your dreams on a daily basis. Unfortunately, I'm on Facebook, and the only thing I like about Facebook is Marketplace and some specialty groups. And one of the groups there was a guy who has one of those overlanding Jeeps, and he's in Wisconsin. And he was like, where can I take this thing? And everybody was like, there isn't a place in Wisconsin. And I responded that said, yeah, I lived in Wisconsin. There's one trail. And I said, unfortunately, it's not that exciting. And my drive into town is way more exciting currently. And I said, it was the same thing. I was into mountaineering. There's no mountains in Wisconsin. I went west. You know, the old saying, go west, young man, go west. And that's what I did. And I climbed, and I enjoyed it. And then as I got older, the desire to go high wasn't as strong. You know, the summit, yeah, it's cool to get to the summit, but I was always more of the journey as the reward. And when you live in an area like we do right now, every day is a reward. I mean, it's just, as they say, it's God's country. I mean, it's so beautiful out here. The hiking, we'd go hiking every week. I mean, it's something we could never do when we were living in Wisconsin. We could go maybe once every couple months on vacation someplace, and it would usually be overly crowded. And here it's a rarity to see people on these trails. There's just so many trails. And another benefit is accessibility of things. And this is for us. Some people want to just be out in the middle of nowhere, near nothing, and that's fine. But I was talking to somebody else, because I always joke, in my dreams, my retirement had my old salary in my retirement dreams, which I no longer have. So being fiscally responsible, a new Bronco just is not going to happen. And I was talking to a friend about it, and he was like, oh, are you bummed out you can't get your Bronco that you've dreamed about? And I said, well, here's the thing. I could have had my Bronco if I stayed at my old job and didn't move. I would have to go to work to pay for it. Maybe it would see some gravel. Or move out where like we did with our current vehicles and explore with our current vehicles, which can do, I would say, 90% of what the Bronco can do. It can go everywhere the Bronco can go. It's been paid for years. We don't owe anything on it. And if I didn't know what I was in, it doesn't matter. I'm exploring trails and using it. So it's one of those things, would you rather have to go to work and, have your dream vehicle, or just have any vehicle and actually do what you dream about doing in that vehicle? I would take the location every time. That's not everybody. Some people identify with what vehicle they're driving, the clothes they wear, and that is not me. That is not Jen. We're not like that. Strategies for overcoming the loneliness. One of the things, and this was our plan all along, was having some guest accommodations on our property. This is one of the things that when we were searching for properties, it was a must-have. And unfortunately, our current property, the second house, barn dominium / is not ready yet, but that hasn't stopped us from having family and friends come out here. We've had family and friends come out and stay out here, and it's been great. And it was really nice to see my brother say, when he came out here, he was like, now I see why you two moved out here. This is so you and so perfect for you. And that was helpful. It's, it's reassuring, because sometimes, even though you walk the walk, you sometimes second guess yourself. And it's nice to get a little assurance sometimes. One of the other things is connecting with some other people. There's so many of you people that watch my channel and have contacted me and reached out to me, and I've met some of you, and that's been great. There's a couple that really contacted me a long time ago when we first moved down here, and we finally met up with them, and it was great. We went out to lunch in Harrison, and it was great. And there's another couple that lives just down the road from me that has a cabin that they come to often, and we've been planning on it also. And there's a few others. And believe it or not, the one day that we went to Harrison to meet with this couple and do lunch, great time, great people. When we left, we went to Walmart because we were in town for our monthly trip for groceries, and we ran into our realtor. And it was like, it was nice to actually, be in a town and run into people and actually know some people, because that took some time, because we've been out here about 6 months now, a little less, I think, but right around there. The other thing is trying to get involved in the community. There's an event coming up in town, the Jasper Jeep Jam. I'm going to be a vendor there. I have a side hustle. I'm going to be there. The proceeds from the Jeep Jam help pay for the town to put on concerts and events all summer long that are free. So it's a win-win situation. I get to use my side hustle, get to meet people, and I also get to help fund the town for summer events. So it's a good thing. It's a really cool thing. And the other thing is find hobbies that the isolation's not a big deal. Like for us, it's homesteading, hiking, exploring on the property. It's just cool. I mean, I can go target shooting, you name it, on our property. Kind of looking at all the snow coming down right now. It's snowing a lot. We're going to be probably stuck here. Living a full life on the homestead. This is what everybody dreams about. I mean, if you're going to do this, you really need to plan on living a full life on the homestead. Living remote, living like we do, it is a bit lonely. You have to accept that if you're going to live like this. I mean, the only exception would be maybe if you have all your family come with you, or you're still younger and have children that are living with you. But other than that, it's, like I said, our closest neighbor is not close. A little different than where we used to live. Any direction, there was houses all around. Everything here is a bit further. I get my binoculars out, I can see some cabins up on the mountaintops around us, but everything is far. By car, by foot, and by four-wheeler, it takes longer. And as we joke around here, we call it mountain miles. Oh, it's only 6 miles away, and then 30 minutes later, you get there in a car, because the roads are like this. And in Wisconsin where we're at, everything was a grid. So you want to get to A from B, there was 20 different ways you could get there. We want to get to town from here, there's 2 ways maybe, depending on the weather, depending on the conditions. That's the way it is. On the same note, it's a good thing, because we wanted to be away from the crowds, we wanted to be away from the people, wanted a simple, quiet life, and we did not have that on our old property. It was as good as we could do in our old area, but it was, like I said, closing in on us, and that was one of the main reasons. And there's a lot of videos on why we left and what our old place was. You still need to try to connect with the outside world, but at the same time embrace the solitude of the homestead lifestyle. I mean, this is why we did this. My wife and I could be content reading a book, staying home for, days on end and just enjoying our company and just enjoying nature. We don't need to go out. We don't need to go to restaurants. We don't need, it's one of those things that we go out less and less and less. I would love to hear the viewers' ideas of how they deal with the solitude of homesteading, what they do to interact with people more often. Right now, some of our closest friends are almost an hour away. So yeah, in those comments, leave some comments on how you deal with the solitude of homesteading, how you have dealt with it. If you're still homesteading, if you're thinking about homesteading, this is a real thing to consider, because some people don't take this well. I'm not saying it didn't get to me, but it's an adjustment, and I'm still getting used to it. But the pros outweigh the cons, and it would be much more difficult if there wasn't high-speed internet and reliable phones. Then it would be tough. But we have solar battery backup, we have Starlink, we have the greatest communications here possible, and it's helpful. I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully this was helpful. If you're thinking about making a big change, quitting your job, moving to the country, moving to the mountains, drop me a line. If you go to my bio, there's my email address, my mailing address. Reach out. I'm always here. The one thing that I have is time. I've got a lot of it here, so don't feel bad. I enjoy the comments. I love it when people comment. It's just a fun way to communicate with people, see what's going on. It's a big part of my life right now, and a lot of those people I consider friends, and besides the camera and things like that. Crazy things happen when you're out in the middle of nowhere. Thank you, and until next time. And I know I'll probably put the cut in there, but don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. It does go a long way, so it does help the channel, because this right now is one of the few ways we generate some income, and fortunately, I have to keep enjoying doing this, because if not, it's not worth the monetary reward. The reward is the commenting, the likes and subscribes, just kind of give me hey, you're doing something. People are, it's not just a complete waste of my time, and that helps, because sometimes I wonder if it is a complete waste of time. But it's unfortunately, this is almost like my video diary, this channel. So it's gonna go all over the place, and and enjoy the ride. But thank you, and until next time. And I'm gonna go enjoy the quiet. I'm still waiting for the temperature in my water to be perfect. It's still warming up. I'm gonna end it there. Thanks. Like and subscribe. I gotta support this shirt, because it was a gift. I love it.